Welcome to this advanced shell scripting video titled Visual Select, a shell script menuing system and data entry interface. Visual Select is an advanced shell script menuing system written in Korn Shell 93 and or Bash. The purpose of this program is to provide a visual interface into an array of values presented to the user as a menu of selection items. And that looks like this. This user interface written in Korn Shell provides the user with the ability to use single key press functions to perform cursor movement using the PC keyboard, such as the arrow keys, the page up, page down, home, and end keys. And it also provides the user with the ability to use single key press execution for the PC keyboard function keys. So there's you can use all of those types of keys with this program in a single key press type of operation. Now, before I continue describing the Visual Select shell script and menuing system, first I'll tell you where to download it. So you'll want to open a browser window and go to mountzia.com. That's mtxia.com. And on this large blue menu bar, click on Scripts, and from there click on Korn for Korn Shell. And then if you scroll down in this page, you'll see Visual Select. Now you can click on Visual to select to go to a description of the program, or you can click on non-HTML. The non-HTML version of the shell script can be obtained by clicking on this link, and that is a clean text version of the script without any embedded HTML formatting. So if you're going to cut and paste from this page, you'll want to use this page to do that because it has no embedded HTML tags or anything like that. So this is just the straight clean text version of the program. So if we go back to what we were looking at before, we see this is displaying an array of values, and so the user can then move through this array of values and select a value from the list. And so this is arranged in 4 columns with however many rows that will fit on the page. So all of that is dynamic and configurable. You can configure the number of rows, you can configure the number of columns, you can configure how all of this looks and what happens when you select an item from the menu. So the user is able to navigate through the array items displayed on one or more of the screens. So if you have multiple screens, if you have more items than will fit on this screen, you can page through multiple pages as well. So the number of items doesn't have to fit on one single page. It can be hundreds of items, and you can scroll through the various pages using Visual Select as well. So when you select an item from the list, then you can perform further processing on that item, either display or cause some action to happen, depending upon what it is that you're displaying to the user. So now let's look at some of the features that are provided by Visual Select. And here's a list here that tells you about all the various features. There's single key press movement for the function keys, for the cursor movement keys. Unlimited number of items can be presented to the user, and then they use the function keys or the cursor movement keys to page through those items in the list. It's a user programmable menu. You can program the function keys, the cursor movement keys, the command keys. There's even a help screen that you can program. So you can, by pressing F1, the default key for displaying the help screen is by pressing F1. Well, you can customize what is in that help text. And so all of these things are available as features as part of the Visual Select menuing system. Now, to run this menuing system, one thing you may want to do is to go out to kornshell.com and download the latest release of Korn Shell 93. So if you want the latest version under AIX is typically not up to date. So if you're running a version of AIX to run this to run this shell script, you may want to go out to cornshell.com and download the latest version of Korn Shell 93. You may also want to download the vTrain Bourne Shell course, which uses the visual select functions to present a training course and questionnaire. You can download that by clicking on this link, the vTrain Bourne Shell tar.zip file. So now that you know where you can get the visual select shell script, let's look at an example of what it can do for you. I'll go to I'm running this on a Windows laptop, and I have the Cygwin X Windows running in this environment, and I've also downloaded the Korn Shell 93 script program so that I am using that with the Cygwin environment. Now I have already downloaded Visual Select, and I've also downloaded the vTrain program, so we'll take a look at a couple of those things. First thing I'll do is I will start the Visual Select script by executing a file from the command line. Now I have this in a directory called vTrain, so I'm going to run it out of there. If I do a list, I have a Visual Select.shell script out there, so I am just going to run that. And when I run that shell script, you see that it presents a menu to me, and it formats the display with a couple of title lines at the top of the page, and then a command prompt here, and that is waiting for you to input a command, and then one or more columns of configuration files, and these configuration files are from the Etsy directory. These are all the configuration files out there in my Etsy directory under Cygwin. So there's not a whole lot of them. If there were lots of them, then it would display multiple columns out here. So this list that is displayed is arbitrary, and this is just a default thing that I chose to display. You can display any list of items that you want, so it can be any array of values that you wish to display. I'm just using, for the purpose of this video, I'm just using the list of configuration files from the Etsy directory because it was an easy thing to do and understand, and it also gives us a starting point to show the capabilities. So as I've got this displayed now, I'm pressing the down arrow key, and you can see that when I press the down arrow key, you can see my cursor move down, and you also see that it moves down in the list of items. And so I can also push the up arrow, and it moves up in the list. I can push the right arrow, and it goes all the way to the end. I can push the left arrow, and it goes all the way to the beginning. That's because when I'm pushing the left and right arrows, there's only one column. If there were multiple columns out here, it would move to the next column and back and forth between the columns, pushing the left and the right arrow. So I can also use the page up and page down keys. So I can push page down, and it goes all the way to the bottom. I can push page up, it goes all the way to the top. I can push the home key. Well, let's go to the end key, home key. So I can use all different types of keys to move around in my list of items here. And I have this command prompt turned on right now, so you see the command prompt going up and down as I'm pushing the keys. I did that purposefully. You can turn that movement off if you want to. You can turn the display of the command off if you want to do that within Visual Select. Now, one other thing that I can do here is I can press the F1 key. I have a help screen set up on the F1 key so that it will display a list of all my keys. Now again, I can use the page up, page down to page through the list of items. So I'm paging now through the list of lines in my help screen, and so I can go back up using the page up key. I can use my arrow keys to go down line at a time, or I can use the up arrow to go up in that page. If I press the F1 key again, it will go back to my original screen, so it turned the help screen off. It turned off, or it toggled off the help screen and went back to my list of items. Some other features, let's look at the F1 key again and see what we can see from that list. We also see that we can use Emacs style keys to move around the page. So if you're familiar with Emacs, you can use control keys, Control N to go down a row, and I will use those keys. I'm pushing a Control N to go down. I'm doing a Control P now to go back up, and I can use the Control F to move forward, Control B to move backward, like I would for the left and right arrow keys. Another thing I can do is I can use, if I turn on the VI style keys, and I can do that with the F4 key in the way it's configured right now. If I hit F4 and watch up here in the mode, if I hit F4, you'll see it turned on VI mode. So now I can use my VI style commands to move up and down in the array that's being displayed. And I can do that if I hit F1 now. We'll go back to my list. Well, VI mode is still turned on, so I can still use VI style commands. I'm just pushing the J key to go down and then the K key to go back up. And again, I can use all the VI style commands to move up and down in the displayed array. Now if I want to turn VI mode off in the way it's configured here, I can do F4 to turn off VI mode. So there's lots and lots of different capabilities, and you'll probably want to see that default help screen. Again, that help screen is configurable, so you can change that to be whatever you want it to be, but the default configuration of that screen allows you to configure allows you to move up and down and around in the displayed array using your arrow keys, the Emacs style keys, VI style keys. You can even type in the commands to move around the page if you choose to do so. So now I'll exit from this. I'm going to press the F3 key as it shows me down here. Press F3 to exit. So I'm going to press the F3 key to exit, and it brought me back to the command prompt. Now I'm going to go back to my browser window, and let's talk about this VTrain course again. This is a good thing to look at to see some additional capabilities that you can do with Visual Select. So if you download that, you'll want to unzip and untar that file into some directory. And this Bourne Shell training course provides you with reading material for a Bourne Shell training and a quiz at the end of each of the sections of the training material, and it all uses the Visual Select menuing and data entry interface. Now I've already extracted that course within the Cygwin environment that I have on my Windows desktop, and so I am already in that directory and in the VTrain directory, so I'll go into that Bourne Shell course directory, and you see several lessons and workshops and things like that. So in this instance of Visual Select, I have all of the functions extracted into individual files, and Visual Select is going to utilize all of the functions, the shell script functions from a shell script library. So this is configured a little bit differently than having them all in a single file. The previous example had all of these functions in a single file, and you simply executed it as a single script. Here I have a shell script function library with each of the shell script functions in a separate file, and so it's a different configuration here. So the first thing we're going to do then is we'll go through one of the lessons, and let's see how the course information is presented using Visual Select and how to navigate through the material using this method. So first I'll open lesson 01. We can see lesson 01 in the list, so I'll just say lesson 01, and I'll run that. That is a shell script. And so I will execute that from the command line, and it will display this page, or a page that looks similar to this, on your screen. And in this page you can see that we have a program number, we have a course description, and it tells us a couple of header lines here, and we have a screen number, so it's telling us that there's only one screen. Remember, you can display as much information as you want, and you can page through the information. So this is telling me that this is screen 1 of 1. There's no more information to display regarding this page or this lesson. So if I want to go through this information, as it says here at the bottom, we can do F6 to go to the next page here, or I can just press enter to go to the next page. So I'm just going to press enter. We can also do F5 to go to the previous page, and so I just went to the next page. Now I'm going to press F5 to go back, and so I went back to the first page. So now I'm going to press enter again, so we can navigate through this just pressing F5 to go back, or just enter to go forward, or F6. So the information in each lesson page is contained in a separate file, and I'll show you that when we see the visual select scripts and functions. And so I'm just going to quickly go through each lesson page to the end. So we're just paging through, and you can watch the page number here. So the page number is changing, and so we've just paged through each one of these pages in the lesson, and we'll go all the way through to the end. And this is just to show you that you can have as many pages as you want within the lesson. And we'll just keep on paging through till we get to the end. We can see a lot of information is being displayed here in this lesson. And so we're just keep going through. I'm just continuing to press enter until we get to the last page. And then it went to a workshop. So I'm going to stop here for now. And let's see. So you can see when I ran lesson 1 that it automatically went to the workshop or the quiz. You can have it do that automatically, or you can run the lessons and then the workshops separately. So you can see that here are the workshops, or the list of workshops. Essentially what lesson 1 is doing is simply running the workshop after the lesson. Well, I'm going to run it separately now. So we're going to run the workshop, and so now it's displaying a question. You see it displays a question followed by multiple choice answers, and allows the user to select an answer. So it's asking, the Born shell can act as a command line or high level something, and you're to fill in the, so I'm fill in the blank, so I'm using the down arrow key to select an answer. Once I've selected the answer, I'll press enter, and then it's asking me to confirm the answer, and I confirm the answer, and it went to question number 2. And so I can continue to go through each question, selecting an answer and confirming it, and it goes through. You see we're on question number 3 now, so I'm just going through and selecting the first answer in the list. I'm not even really watching to see if it's the correct answer. I'm just selecting the first answer in the list, and we can go all the way through the questions and select all the answers, and it's recording these answers in a file. So from these examples, you can see how useful the visual select functions can be, and since it's written in shell scripts, it can be easily modified for any purpose and ported to any platform that can run shell scripts. So now then, let's take a closer look at the lesson 01 script. If you remember, we have a lesson 01 script, so let's take a look at that. We'll do a view on lesson 01. And again, this is just a shell script, and you can see at the top of the script it defines an F path, come down to the fpath, and that fpath variable contains a full path directory location to the Visual Select shell script function libraries. And the fpath variable can be used to identify the location of one or more shell script function libraries and is a standard Korn shell type construct. There is a separate video that describes how to create and use shell script function libraries if you want to see that. So if you have questions about that topic, you can view that video. And let's go to a browser here and just go to mountzia.com and go to download scripts and Korn, and if you scroll down in that a little bit, you'll see a link here that is titled How to Create Shell Script Function Libraries. So you want to take a look at that. But for now, let's go back to our looking at our shell script lesson 01. Now understand this is a user written script that simply contains calls to the visual select functions. So the use of these visual select functions to present training material is an invention of the shell script programmer and not inherent to visual select. So if we just scroll down in this, you can see that it's running an init screen, which is part of the shell curses function library, which, if you're familiar with shell curses, that is a cursor addressing system. And then it calls various programs from the Visual Select library and sets them up and just runs them. So you can see from this shell script, it's just normal Korn shell type stuff, and all it's doing is executing functions out of a shell script function library to display the course material and present the screen in a method that you can use your single key press arrow keys and function keys to move around within the material. So I'm going to jump out of that. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to show. Let's go back into the lesson 01 script. Is if we go down here, we mentioned the init screen as part of the shell curses function library. Well, down here a little further, there is something called define help content. And this is a function out of the Visual Select function library. And it reads the help configuration file and sets up the Visual Select help screens. So the help configuration file can contain whatever the script programmer wants it to contain. And this is completely configurable by the script programmer. So the help configuration file is, of course, configurable. It contains whatever you want it to contain. And the help screen is displayed when running Visual Select by pressing the F1 key. And again, that key is configurable. That is the default help key. It can be modified to be whatever the script programmer wants it to be. So let's look at that help content now. We saw the help content when we ran the default Visual Select, and we were simply displaying directories or configuration files out of the etc directory. Let's look at that help file now. That has been configured a little differently out of the lesson material. So here we are in the lesson material, and let's press enter a couple of times to go through to a couple of more screens. So here we are on screen 3. Now let's press the F1 key, and we see that it displays the function, the help screen again. And so this can be anything you want it to be. You can put help information in here specific to your program or specific to the keys, and that can be, again, as long as you want it to be and contain as much information as you want it to be. So now we're in the lesson 01 of a press, where we're in the help screen for lesson 01. Here we see help and lesson 01. If we press F1 again, it's going to take us back to our lesson where we left off. So we're on screen 3 or page number 3. So let's continue looking at lesson 01 here so we can see how that works. and I'm going to press F10 here to exit, and F10 again to exit. It went automatically into the workshop. So let's look at the code again for lesson 01 and scroll down in this a little bit, and we can see in here, let's scroll down to where it's reading each page of information. And what we're doing here, we can see a while loop, and what we're doing here is that we are looping through each page of information for each page of the lesson, and it is it has those pages numbered according to the course, the lesson, and the question number. And so these are all files that are in a directory, and you can see what the directory is. It's lesson, whatever the lesson number is, .d, and then there is a page out there called pagetext.raw. And so for each page of the lesson, and let's look at that. For each page of the lesson, now look at this page. It says, here's the overview, what is Bourne shell, and making the Bourne shell construct executable, etc., tracing. You see all that information in there. And so let's get out of this and go look in that directory now. Remember the directory was lesson01.d. If we look at that, we see all these pages. And let's cat that page, and we see it contains that information. So it's just reading that file and displaying it as far as the lesson information is concerned. So you can have as many pages in here, and you can format that information whatever you want it to look like. So as far as creating lessons, it's very easy. You just stick the information in a file. Now then, let's go back and look at the code in lesson 01. And I'm going to search for files. And what's happening here is that it is copying each page or each line of the page, the lesson page, into an array called files. And then once it has that in the array, then it uses a visual select function called vs_slides to display the information. So the first thing that has to happen is you have to put all your page information into an array, an indexed array called files, and that is shown here how it's doing that. And then this vs_slides function knows how to use that, knows how to display it and allow you to manipulate it. So it's relatively easy. Take a look at these scripts, and it will become quite clear to you how easy it is to do. But it's a very useful program, and it can be used for a variety of different functions. So again, if you wish to download this information or the visual select programs, go to mountzia.com, click on download scripts, go to Korn, and then scroll down in that, and there is a link in there to visual select, and you can go to that page and it'll give you a description, or you can download the code from here, a non-HTML version of the code. If we click on that link that gives the description, we see here that we have links to Korn shell binaries for a couple of different platforms here, and then here's the link to that VTrain material. That is a very good reference that you can use to design your own programs. It's a compressed tar file, so you'll need to extract it on your desktop with using gunzip and a tar program to do that. And what I've been showing you is running on a Windows desktop, running the Cygwin environment on Windows with Korn Shell 93 downloaded from Korn Shell. So this obviously works in a wide variety of environments. Certainly any environment that's running Korn Shell 93 will run this Visual Select program. You can also use Bash to do it. It may require a few changes here and there to make it operate in Bash, but it certainly will work in Bash. I would recommend that you download this vTrain Bourne Shell course for a variety of reasons. And one of the reasons is that the Visual Select functions are already separated into a function library that you can reference from your scripts. So this already has that work done for you. So all you have to do is reference the programs from that function library. And also the shell curses function libraries are included in that function library, so you don't have to extract those either. So both the shell curses and the Visual Select functions are already extracted into that library. There are several examples of how to use the Visual Select in the course, which makes it easy, and it demonstrates how to present the slide information. It demonstrates how to present multiple choice questions. It demonstrates how to create help screens, and it's a free training course for Bourne Shell. So there's a lot of reasons there to go ahead and download that course and use that. So that is a quick description of how to obtain and use the Visual Select shell script menuing functions. Now the best way to figure out how to use this in your own environment is to download that Bourne Shell training course and look at the scripts and then modify those scripts to suit your needs and requirements. So that is it on how to use the Visual Select shell script menuing system and data entry interface. If you would like to see additional advanced shell script functions and topics and videos, please go to mountzia.com, as I've already shown you several times. I'll do it one more time. mountzia.com, and go to download and scripts and click on Korn, and there is lots and lots of information out there and videos and things like that. So that is the end of this video. Thank you for listening and watching.